Okay, so the only feature that we still need to replicate in our new hooks-based functional component is the form submission. As a reminder, in our app component, whenever the user clicks the button that submits the form, we run this method right here, the handle form submit method. Well, the good news is we're going to be able to keep most of this logic within our new app with hooks component. And what we're going to do is define this form submission method as a form submission function. We're going to follow the exact same approach as we did in the previous lesson with our event handlers right here. So what I'm going to do here is define another inline arrow function. I'm just going to call it handle form submit. And this one is going to take an event object that will be provided by React when the user clicks the button to submit the form. And I'm going to define that arrow function body, give myself a little bit of space, and then I'm going to copy all of this logic right here from my original app component all the way down to here, copy that, paste that in here, save that, and we can close our original app.js file. And now all that's left to do is just tweak this code a little bit in order to make it work. First up, before I forget, I'm going to scroll down and we'll see right here where we have our form is where we have that old reference to the this keyword and the handle form submit method. Well, we no longer have a handle form submit method, but defined above, we now have a handle form submit function. So we can get rid of the this keyword, and this code is totally valid. We now are providing a reference to a function that will run whenever the user submits the form, and React will provide it with the event object representing that form submission. So now scrolling up, all we need to do here is update a little bit of this code. So we still need to call the prevent default method on the event object to prevent a page refresh. We no longer need to destructure these properties off this.state, so I can remove them right here. And the good news is those names like login mode or password are still valid because, once again, this function is defined within this scope, this function body. So the internals of this function are going to have access to these constants that we declared outside. As a quick reminder of how scope works in JavaScript, anything in an internal scope, in other words, the body of this function, this is an internal scope, it has access to any constants or variables declared in the outer scope, the higher scope, the outer level scope. That means that all of these names right here, login mode, set login mode, email, password, these handler functions, we can reference any of those names within this body right here. That is totally valid. The process does not exist in reverse, however, so these constants that we declare here, like valid email, we cannot reference those names out here, but we can do the inverse. From within this function scope right here, between lines 19 and 38, we can reference anything on the outside. So with that said, we are preventing the form refreshing the page. We still have all of our validations here. Those still are exactly the same. Here is our logic for checking whether the user has provided a valid email and password in login mode. And the only thing we need to change here is we no longer have this.setState available. And what we're doing here is updating the value of the message state property. Well, now we have a convenient helper function to help us update that piece of state. And that is this function that we have not used yet, which is setMessage. So right here, instead of this.setState, I'm going to do setMessage. That is the property that I want to update, or more specifically, the piece of state that I want to update, because we're not technically dealing with properties anymore. These are all independent pieces of state that we created with the useState hook. So now we don't need to provide a property like message because we're communicating that with the setMessage function. So we want to set that string to exactly what we have below. You are now logged in. And with that, I can delete the code below, and there we go. Same logic is going to apply right here. So here we are once again calling setState and updating the message piece of state. The way we update the message piece of state within our functional component using hooks is we use setMessage instead. So here, I'm just going to literally cut and paste this string, paste it right here, delete the former code, and finally, same rules apply right here. Instead of this.setState with an object with a message property, what I want to do is the exact same thing. I want to update the message piece of state by using our setMessage function, provide in the exact same string because I want nothing to change, pass that in, delete our former code. And with that, there should be no more references to the this keyword throughout the component. I just did a find and did not find anything. So with that, the app should be working successfully in our browser. And then in the very next lesson, we're going to go ahead and swap our old component with our new one. So this completes our refactor. This is our new app component that utilizes hooks and functional components instead of class components. And as you can see, I think it's gotten a little bit leaner, a little bit lighter, a little bit easier to interpret. All of our logic is kind of isolated in the same place. And then otherwise, it's basically the exact same thing we've always had, just the JSX rendering a form. Okay, that's all there is to cover in this lesson. So I will see you in the next one.